We're back talking about Hasan Piker once again. That's right, this time it's because Hasan has revealed that he had his TSA Global Entry Program access completely revoked by the Department of Homeland Security. Who would have guessed this could happen? That's right, today on Hasan's stream he went through and showed the letter that he received from Homeland Security telling him exactly what happened. I think it's probably pretty self-evident the reason that this was revoked. However, let's get into it and read it ourselves. So if we go here to this, just because it's easier to read, we can see Global Entry is a voluntary program available to travelers that pass a comprehensive background investigation. Applicants found to be ineligible for Global Entry participation may still be permitted to enter into the United States, although they will not be permitted to use Global Entry dedicated lanes. We regret to inform you that your membership in Global Entry has been revoked for the following reasons. You do not meet program eligibility requirements. If you believe the decision was based upon inaccurate or incomplete information, you may be eligible to request reconsideration through the Trusted Traveler Program application website. And then if we go here to the actual letter, Dear Hasan Piker, thank you for submitting your Traveler Inquiry Form and identity documentation to the Department of Homeland Security Traveler Redress Inquiry Program regarding your participation in the Global Entry Program. Customs and Border Protection is tasked with protecting our nation's borders as well as enforcing numerous laws at our nation's ports of entry on behalf of a variety of other government agencies, including state and local law enforcement. CBP officers routinely access information provided by these agencies to conduct examinations. All international travelers attempting to enter the United States, including US citizens, are subject to examination upon each arrival into this country. Occasionally, CBP may inconvenience law-abiding persons in our efforts to detect, deter, and mitigate threats to our homeland, caused by the few individuals who are involved in illicit activities. We rely on the patience, cooperation, and understanding of travelers to ensure the effective protection of our borders. After careful review, we have determined that your Global Entry Program membership was revoked because you do not meet the guidelines for program participation. An individual is ineligible to participate in the Trusted Traveler Program if CBP, at its sole discretion, determines that the individual presents a potential risk for terrorism, criminality, violating customs, agriculture, and/or immigration laws, or is otherwise not a low-risk traveler. This risk determination will be based in part on an applicant's ability to demonstrate past compliance with laws, regulations, and policies. Reasons why an applicant may not qualify for participation include, but is not limited to. Now here's the list. We're going to read through it, and I want you guys to go down in the comments and tell me which of these you think applies to Hasan. The applicant provides false or incomplete information on the application. The applicant has been arrested for or convicted of any criminal offense or has denied firearms transactions, pending criminal charges, protection orders, or outstanding warrants in any country. The applicant has been found in violation of any customs, immigration, or agriculture regulations, procedures, or laws in any country. The applicant is subject of an investigation by any federal, state, or local law enforcement agency in any country. The applicant is inadmissible to the United States under the applicable immigration laws or has at any time been granted a waiver of inadmissibility or parole. The applicant is known or suspected of being or having been engaged in conduct constituting in preparation for, in aid of, or related to terrorism, or the applicant cannot satisfy CBP of his or her low-risk status to meet the other program requirements. Which of those do you think applies to Hasan? Well, obviously this one here. The applicant is known or suspected of being or having been engaged in conduct constituting in preparation for, in aid of, or related to terrorism. I think the fact that if you Google Hasan's name, terrorist stuff comes up probably doesn't help him, especially when you consider that he's been called out for this by the Anti-Defamation League, and they are an organization that has a lot of political power. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the ADL had some kind of hand in this, though I would never be able to prove that. So regardless, it is true that Hasan is, at very least, considered by many to be related to terror. Now, I don't think that Hasan is actually himself a terrorist. However, he does constantly talk about terror orgs, and he has in the past expressed support for organizations that the US government has designated as terrorist organizations, which definitely isn't a good thing. And obviously, the fact that he said in the past that he really likes some of these groups probably precludes him under this rule. However, I can't say for sure it was this one. It could also be the fact that he might be under investigation by any federal, state, or local law enforcement agency. Who knows? I mean, like I said, the ADL is coming after Hasan, so who knows if there's some kind of investigation going on into him, especially with how much he talks about this stuff on his streams. It's entirely possible that there is. However, despite the sensationality of the other two, the most obvious answer is that Hasan filled the form out wrong, and it got revoked under this. The applicant provides false or incomplete information on the application. That's obviously the catch-all, so it's entirely possible that that's the actual reason, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it was. That being said, it definitely could be one of the other two I mentioned, but we don't know for sure. Now, this actually wasn't the end of the letter, so we can go over here to the next page. In the event you are denied or revoked from the Trusted Traveler programs, you will be provided information information in writing detailing the reason for this action. You should carefully review the denial or revocation reasons, and if applicable, submit detailed information if they believe CBP should consider. The reconsideration request must include enough information to allow CBP to conduct a review. Incomplete requests or requests with minimal documentation or details regarding an incident may not support reconsideration of the application. So what that means is that Hasan actually has something in his possession that tells him exactly why they revoked his access, and I do not believe that he has released that at this time, which means it probably isn't a good thing. But again, I can't say for sure because we don't have all the information. So then if we continue, while CBP cannot always disclose the exact reason for denial or revocation of a trusted traveler program status, individuals may still request reconsideration even if they do not know the reason for their denial, revocation. Trusted Traveler Program Ombudsman will consider all available information when evaluating the individual's eligibility for the Trusted Traveler Programs. So, contradicting what's said above, this says that sometimes they can't tell you what's going on and why it was revoked. My guess would be that this option is what happens if you're under investigation by the government for some crime. This is what you get, because obviously they're not going to tell you that the government's investigating you. But anyway, then it goes on to tell him exactly how to file for the reconsideration and what he needs to submit, and that's basically it. So what this means is that Hasan isn't in global entry. Now, you might remember that Hasan has very recently had problems with the federal government. That's right, Hasan actually was recently in the news because he was detained and questioned at the airport in Chicago. Now, he claimed it was for 2 hours, although I think the timeline actually works out to it being more like 10 or 15 minutes. But that's besides the point, because this could be entirely caused, despite what he says. Hasan claimed that he thinks that this is because of his political speech against Trump, but in actuality, I think it's more likely that it's actually about this. If Hasan's global entry program status had been revoked before he got back into the country, and he didn't know because obviously he wasn't at home to get his letter, it's entirely possible that he got into the global entry line without actually being in global entry. And so then when the agents were looking him up in the system, they saw that he actually used to have it and it was revoked, and that set off some red flags, which was why they were asking him questions, which makes this entire situation seem way more reasonable. You know, it kind of seems like Hasan may have mischaracterized this greatly, but we won't know because Hasan's not going to tell us that. So anyway, what do you guys think's going on here? Do you think that Hasan is under investigation, or do you think that there was a different reason that they revoked his access to this? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching all the way till the end. Remember to like and subscribe. Have a great day, and God bless you.